Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Well, hey there, and welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone. I'm Niko Tamurian, joined as always by my partner in crime, Najee Moye. Najee, we need some good vibes this week, man.
Yeah, we really do, because things are not going as scheduled. Things are not going as planned, Niko. The past 3 weeks in Seattle have been, the weather has turned from a beautiful, gorgeous early autumn day to gray and sadness, just like what's happened to the Seahawks, Niko.
Yeah.
What exactly, how would you describe, in 3 words or less? 3 words or less. No expletives.
Thanks for that.
If you're a Seahawks fan, there's been quite a few expletives, especially losing to the Niners this past Thursday, the Giants the week before. Things have not been well. Win 3, lose 3. Niko, what's going on? Talk to me.
Okay,
Let's just vent. Get it all out.
Yeah, there's something going on.
Yeah.
And I truly, genuinely do believe it's just the beginning of the McDonald era, trying to mesh things. You've got a first-time offensive coordinator at the pro level anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got a lot of new.
Right.
And then you look at the big picture now that we are 6 games in. And those first 3 wins, depleted Dolphins, New England, and Bo Nix's first ever game as a pro, you kind of see that Denver looks much better now, right?
Right.
But you kind of look at those 3 and you're like, oh, okay. And then you look at the next 3, okay, the Lions were very good. The Niners are very good. Excuse me. The Giants, you probably should beat those guys, get all things considered, but they're playing some good ball right now.
Right.
So I look at this as this team is still coming together. Mike McDonald said as much. But what I will say that kind of alarmed me a little bit. Listen, I'm not saying that I expect everybody to be all happy, sunshine, roses, everything great.
Because that's not the situation.
No, of course not.
No.
But I will say that I'm used to, even after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's only 4 seasons I've covered these guys. It's not like some of the 28-year vets that are, write and talk about this team. But
sure.
In the 4 seasons, I've never seen a Seahawks team that was quite as annoyed, would be the word I would describe, after the Niners loss.
Right.
And we're talking about, my first year here was when they went 7-10, the year Russ got hurt for a few games, his final year in Seattle. We're talking last year, they had a pretty heavy losing streak in the middle there before they got Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. And that was a dire time, but you still kind of had that vibe like, hey, we got this. We're going to figure this out. Right. And I'm not saying that's how they don't feel that way right now, but I am saying that, okay, Geno Smith, I've called him the consummate pro, and I really believe that. I think he's a great leader for this team.
Sure.
I love the way he takes responsibility after the games. I love the way that he's like, hey, we messed up, but guess what? We're going to work really hard to come back. That's
right.
In a nutshell.
That's what you want to hear.
Right. That's what you want to hear.
Right.
And that's kind of, paraphrasing what he says after most losses, which, in his starting career for the Seahawks, 9-8. So there's been 19 losses in his 2+ seasons, right?
Right.
And so that's a good sample size as far as how you react to that sort of situation. But against the Niners, shorter answers, defensive at times. And listen, he's a human being. I'm not criticizing him. I'm really not.
I'd be angry.
I would be
probably beside myself
for sure,
because it's not just losing to the Niners. I mean, it's losing to the Niners at home, obviously. We have the use checks and the kiddos celebrating on the
that.
And we had all the Niners fans coming, and this is like the 6th straight loss to the Niners after all.
Yeah, they've beaten them since 21.
Exactly. Yeah. That is not good. Obviously,
it's just the change in demeanor that kind of struck me a little bit, because
right.
that was it was uncharacteristic for him. Right. He's excused. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
It's emotional, but it just was like, oh, this is different.
It is different. I think. One, let me just say the schedule makers didn't do the Seahawks any favors. No, believe me. And that being said, I think what we saw, and I wanted to go to the Giants game mostly because it was a very bizarre game, and here's the thing on defense. At least Daniel Jones looked like a halfway decent quarterback against Seahawks, which is a surprising thing. He looked halfway decent, which is why I don't know. Now you can point to injuries. I will point to a lot of injuries. The whole entire defensive front is just
you can't discount that.
You can't discount that. You can, and Gino's been running for his life on the offensive side. I mean, you wanted to get the ball rolling. You want to get the ball running. They'll never get that chance because the offensive line is also kind of in shambles. That being said, the offensive line has been in shambles for quite a while now. I just there are things that are compounding on each other. I think a nice long break is what this team needs.
Yeah.
After not playing from last Thursday to this Sunday. I think the problem is that they have a very, 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 very good and underrated Falcons team when they're going across country to Atlanta to face a very, very good Falcons team with a quarterback I think that's the best quarterback they played all year.
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins.
I mean, if you think about it,
I've never been
you
this nice about
faced
Kirk Cousins
Skylar
before.
Thompson, you faced Jacoby Brissett, you faced Bo Nix, first game Bo Nix.
Mhm.
Goff had a pretty amazing game, so he'd be the only one you compare.
Yeah,
but
Goff and
Kirk Cousins certainly is more proven, maybe over the body of work, and longer period of time, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that, and then you get Josh Allen the following week. So hey, get ready.
Yeah, I know, and I'll take the Lions game as an outlier for defense because we saw the Lions the past couple of weeks. We saw them last week against Dallas. That offense is humming. They probably hang 50 on anyone.
And they, you know what, they were missing all those defensive linemen, and they still were in this game because these guys don't quit at least.
No.
Right. And I'm not saying silver linings and moral victories in the NFL, but if you're looking for maybe some kind of sign that they can get out of this funk,
right?
If you want to even call it that, they may have just run into some things, and other teams may have, okay, we got 3 games of tape on what McDonald and Ryan Grubb are trying to do, and that's what the NFL is. They figure it out. Then you got to adjust.
Yeah.
So, but if there's any sign you're looking at to maybe get out of this funk, it would be that these guys haven't quit. I mean, that Niners game, you could have folded when it was 23-3.
Absolutely.
Instead, they got within one score 2 or 3 times late.
It's true. But that being said, I don't know, man. It's the energy is just not. It's there. They're still a great tackling team, and they still have great players on the offense. I'd like to see people like DK Metcalf not fumble the ball so often. Obviously, and I think a away test. This is a big away test for them for this week in Atlanta. I know you're the eternal optimist.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I would love it if more people were healthy. That's my only thing.
Yeah, sure.
That's the only thing.
Well, here's my thing too. It really struck me again, going back to the last time after the Niners game, before this new game week ramped up. It was really telling Mike McDonald's okay, we need this mini break. And to your point,
it was needed.
It was needed.
Certainly.
He's like, but what really struck me is he's like, we're going to be, all options are on the table. And I was like, whoa, 6 games in, that's a strong statement. And, I think part of it's trading for Roy Robertson Harris. You didn't give up anybody. You gave up a draft pick. It's saying okay, we're not getting the job done. We need people. We need to find people to get the job done.
We need people to suit up.
Yeah. And so, and you also had, you had the instance with, the late in the game when Geno threw the pick, he was clearly expecting DK to cut in. DK goes out, and you can tell there's that frustration that maybe not everybody's on the same page. I'm sure they're fine by now. Right.
Hopefully.
But it's true.
Hopefully.
But it's more along the lines of, there's these little mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them little because they're a big impact, but they're not incorrectable. You're just a bad team. They're just what are you guys doing? Fix this.
No
kind of mistakes, if that makes sense.
It's true, but a little mistakes here and there can lead to a lot of issues. Going forward.
We've seen, yeah.
We've seen going forward. I mean, they won the first 3 games, and I know people were like, okay, the first 3 games, there were wins in the NFL, which you can nothing to sneeze at. But that being said, there were 3 wins against teams that I thought would be better. I thought the Patriots would be better, obviously. Broncos are starting to get there, but that was also Bo Nix's first game, as you said. I think a lot of people are just scratching their heads at the Seahawks team right now.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And we look at this Atlanta matchup. The Falcons are 4-2, and they have played very, very well against teams that are playing very, very well. I'm talking about Tampa, and I'm talking about a couple other teams too. This Falcons team is actually pretty potent on offense. Not that they have a legit quarterback at Kirk Cousins.
But give him credit. I thought Penix would be playing by now.
Well, yeah, and I would love it if Penix was starting right now. Honestly, I think a lot of people in Seattle would like it if Penix was starting instead of Geno.
Yeah.
In Seattle right now. But Kirk Cousins, he's been balling. Kirk, you like that Cousins? I don't know. We'll see. I think
they've got. I mean, listen, they got Bijan Robinson. Kirk has seemingly unlocked Kyle Pitts' potential.
Yeah.
You even got guys like Darnell Mooney who are
Darnell Mooney from Chicago.
Right. And with the Bears, he was good at times, but it wasn't like you were circling that guy like you would say a DK or a a Justin Jefferson like that. I'm not saying he is them, but he is putting up really nice numbers.
Right.
And that's just kind of, the Falcons got what they paid for so far in Kirk Cousins as far as the ability to make this offense exciting. And it was not exciting in the last few years if you watch the Falcons at all.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago they played the Buccaneers and it was an overtime game?
Yeah.
And it was a pretty hotly contested game. It was a great game. It was the Jamal Mooney game. And this offense is kind of it's not as scary as the Detroit offense is,
Right.
But I mean they ran right with Tampa, which Baker Mayfield was playing like a MVP candidate. Can you believe that? And they were right there neck and neck, and they ended up winning that game. And I just worry if we'll see something comparable to the Lions-Cowboys game that we saw this past week.
Oh, I was in the Lions-Seahawks game. Like you went the step further and said the 47-9 game, not the 42-29 game.
I'm not predicting that for a score.
No, I understand that.
But I'm things can get out of hand fairly quickly.
Yeah, I understand.
Especially when you have these high-power offenses and going against a defense that's kind of not there.
And here's the thing about this too,
physically,
Yeah.
This
is, I hate to call a game on October 20th. It's about as close as must win as you get.
Well, I said that last week about the Niners game.
Right. And then they lost. So now it kind of compounds that.
It's just a double muscle.
Right. Because you lose this, you're 3-4 having lost 3 in a row or 4 in a row. And then you got the Bills coming to town who look awfully good.
You're currently tied. You don't have the tiebreaker. Well, there's only been one game against the Niners right now at 3-3 at 500.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
No. And
without Christian McCaffrey,
I mean, you don't want to look ahead because they're all tough, right?
Right.
But I mean, you look at the schedule. You got the Bills, the Rams, whatever. Then you got the Niners again. Cardinals look much improved this year. Then we saw from the Jets are a good team, and they reloaded adding Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Like there's no game on that schedule. Looking at the rest of it, that I'm like gonna bet my house the Seahawks win.
Especially since
they're all gonna be fights.
Especially since we, as in many people, thought the Seahawks would just roll over the Giants 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
See how that happened.
And that kudos to the Giants, because I think the Lions, even with the players that were out for the Seahawks in that Lions game, I think the Giants found and exposed something.
Right.
Or maybe the Lions found and exposed something that the Giants said, let's try this, and it worked.
Right.
Did they score 40? No, but the Giants scoring 29 is noteworthy.
Yeah.
And it was, they were, you remember, they were moving the ball all over the field. Darius Slayton had a day. This is without Malik Neighbors. And it's all these little things that you look back. So how did the Seahawks fix this thing?
They get me to suit up as a linebacker.
Yes, they do. Star linebacker in NCAA football 25.
Yes. Well, they just need players to be on the field. That's the thing.
I think that they needed to make sure they use this, what Mike McDonald called the mini buy,
yeah,
to sort out those cleanup things. You cannot have a bomb touchdown to DK Metcalf called off because you got two guys moving at the same time.
No,
that's you can't have that. You're professionals.
Right.
You can't have some of the other,
you can't have
picks and fumbles based on mixed routes and
you can't have DK running for his life every second. I know he's a quick guy.
No, yeah.
But you need him to stay in the pocket.
Gino needs like more than 2 seconds to throw the ball.
Exactly. He needs time to deliver the ball. And he's got great receivers, and he's got two great running backs, I think. I think Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker have the potential to be something like a Gibbs and Montgomery in Detroit.
I agree.
If they can't run, if they don't even call running plays after all,
right,
they will never get the chance.
And I think it plays into the idea that this thing is still being sorted out.
Yeah. This is still a new situation.
Mike McDonald put it best when he said after that Niners loss that, we're not the team that we want to be right now. Nor should we be.
Right.
Obviously they want to be better, of course, who wouldn't? But I think that, you're looking at in the Giants game when they only ran the ball, 9 times or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
That can't happen. But that's the first time. Ryan Grubb may be an offensive guru and genius and all those nice words, but you can't call just that many running plays when you have Kenneth Walker the third.
Exactly. And I think the week before that, Kenneth Walker the third scored 3 touchdowns.
He did.
Yeah.
And then you only give him ball, you only ran the ball 9 times. They weren't all his carries.
No.
So it's like, okay, you're learning this thing. But this isn't, driver's ed where you got somebody driving, they got the sticker on the back, like student driver, be careful. Like, no, there's none of that in the NFL.
There's none of that.
Like, you got to win. And hopefully, I hope this was a reset. Because even Mike McDonald alluded to, he's like, listen, mini buy, all things are on the table. He's like, we got to look at ourselves as coaches. We got to figure that stuff out. And I don't think that means, and obviously it hasn't meant any movings of coaches or anything like that, but I think it is, hey, wake up call, guys. Because if we finish this thing 3-14, we're all out of town.
Look, well, and
which they won't. But you know what I'm saying?
Well, they won't. But I know someone has commented on our last episode and talked about Robert Saleh in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And how things are for the Jets and how things kind of went south for him. I don't think that situation. I think he got a raw deal. Honestly,
I agree.
I think he's a great coach. I don't think that'll happen in Seattle. But that being said, a long losing streak.
You can't have that right now.
You cannot have that right now. No.
You gotta get this Atlanta game. Okay, you're 4-3.
Right.
Bills will be tough. Let's be objective and say, the Bills will be favored in that game. Maybe you fall to 4-4.
Right.
But then you can get the Rams, and you're 5-4, and then suddenly you're kind of fighting.
Right.
We know that 9-8 is kind of that mark to get into the playoffs. Now, would you have
54% of games?
Yeah. and listen, you think about it. They went 9-8 the last 2 years.
Right.
One time they made the playoffs, and last year they fell a Green Bay win short of it. So you're going to be in the conversation. And for a first year with Mike McDonald figuring things out, I'm not saying that's what you strive for, but okay, that would be okay with the caveat that you're going to be much better.
I think this division is still winnable.
I agree. And I said preseason 11 wins.
Right.
Is that likely? Probably not.
No.
But is it out of the realm of possibility? Of course not. If, of course, and only if, my goodness, you made sure you spent these extra few days. And what I liked about what Mike McDonald did, okay, you play a Thursday night game. He did a little press conference Friday, but as far as the team was concerned, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
Right.
They did get back on the field to practice Monday. As far as a media week was concerned, McDonald talked Friday.
It wasn't packed.
And then we don't talk again until Wednesday. I mean, I think that it was a good chance to kind of, all right, let's put that to bed. Let's reset.
Do you have any thoughts about playing that, that Sunday game against the Giants and then going right back and playing that Thursday against the Niners?
I think it's a terrible. I mean, listen, the Niners did the same thing.
Right.
So it's not like one team had the advantage, except that the Seahawks already had the early week the week before, going Monday to Sunday. It's not quite as drastic as Sunday to Thursday, but it's one last day.
Right.
Which the players made sure we knew, hey, it doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it
is a lot, especially when you're out there getting tackled every other time.
The stat.
You know what it is.
Running back, it's the equivalent of being in a 35, 40-mile-an-hour car crash. I believe is the stat.
Yeah.
How much they get hit or something. So, yeah, I think the schedule was brutal. I think maybe if the Giants were the first game, the Monday night game, and then you play the Lions on short rest, you beat New York.
Maybe.
This is a useless argument, but I do think the fatigue factored in is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
I think when we look at the schedule just as a whole, let's look at the teams that the Seahawks were expected to beat. The Niners, they haven't beaten the Niners 5 games prior to this past week.
Yeah.
The Giants game was a bit of a surprise, and the Lions we saw how the Lions had the best offense in the whole. I stopped very short just saying, the Lions may have the best offense in the whole entire league right now. You're going back to the 3 weeks before that, all wins.
Yeah.
So things are not all bad, but things definitely need to get better. And I sadly don't see that happening.
So are we going into prediction time?
I think we're going to go into prediction.
Let's do it.
We're going to drive down prediction lane. Here's the situation: veteran quarterback. Great running back, great offense, great defense, solid defense on the road across the country. I hate to say it. I think the Hawks lose.
Okay.
I'd love to be disappointed. I'd love to be wrong.
But you got to be. The great Rick Riz once told me with the Mariners, of course. He's like, all you have to be is be honest.
I will be honest. Hawks lose 20-13.
28-13, you said?
22-13.
2013, yeah.
Yeah. I do think the defense will kind of step up a little bit, but that being said, Kirk Cousins will probably find a way. I think Geno Smith will, again, be running for his life. I think that secondary in Atlanta is very good. That whole defense is very good.
Yeah.
And Buffalo, we don't want to get to Buffalo yet. I mean, we saw Buffalo Monday night on KOMO, and they look good against the Jets. The Jets are a better team than the record says that they are, and I think they will get better. We'll talk about that later. But what do you think, Niko?
I don't think you're wrong. As we've talked about often in this show, we can talk about the X's and O's all day.
Right.
Ultimately, Mike McDonald, it's kind of like chess to talking to checkers when we're talking about what a football coach to any analyst is that didn't play in the NFL for that matter.
Right.
But what I try to do is I kind of go off feel.
Mm-hmm. And
what I mean by that is cover enough of these games, you start to notice trends. You start to be like, okay, well, these guys are pros. They're going to do this. It's served me well, except on our betting picks so far on this show,
yeah.
which we'll get to in a little bit. So if you're so when I look at the feel of this, I see a really talented Seahawks team. I'm not saying Atlanta isn't, but I'm seeing a team that got a nice long break that presumably reset the way they needed to, that it still has talent all over, that can look at these last 6 games with a, I mean, if you think about it, you played Thursday, you had Friday, Saturday, Sunday from the coaching perspective to really dissect what's going on here. Okay. Players get off, they get the rest, all that cool stuff.
Sure.
As they needed to, as they deserve. But I have confidence that Mike McDonald, being the cerebral scientist that he is figured something out with 3 extra days. And I'm gonna with all that.
That was a lot of words just then.
That was a lot of justification for one pick. And I think so. I look at that, and I look at the way that good teams don't stay down for too long, and I think the Seahawks are a good team still. And I think Jason Myers hits a 52-yard field goal to win 24-21.
Ooh. The forever optimist, you guys.
There's
a world that happens.
There's a world where that happens, and it may not be likely.
It's not the real one.
No.
But there's a world where that happens.
I would have cursed at you right now. We're not on a podcast in a loving way.
I can see that happening. I think a lot of things have to happen. I wish if the team was fully healthy, I would say that there's a good chance for that to happen. Atlanta's playing very well. Their division is actually a lot better than people think.
Yeah, it used to be that you go 8 and 9 and then you go to the playoffs division.
No, Tampa's showing up. New Orleans is showing up. Atlanta's showing up. They got the pieces now. This is probably the best Falcons team they put on the field in years.
Yeah.
I am more confident in the Seahawks beating Buffalo next week.
See, I'm the opposite way. I don't think they're quite ready for that. I think they beat Atlanta, but I think they would I bet my house on it? No. Would I bet even a significant amount of money on it? No.
I wouldn't bet
But I think Buffalo comes in here and wins.
I wouldn't bet a slice of cheesecake on it either.
I just worry a little bit about Buffalo with that high-powered both sides of the ball.
Well, here's the thing. We saw Buffalo, and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we saw Buffalo kind of, I don't want to say struggle. The Jets game was a division game. It was on the road. You saw that right here on KOMO. Not here, but on KOMO.
Yeah.
And Buffalo looked like they were challenged a little bit.
Yeah.
That being said, they did some things, and the Jets did some things today, on Tuesday, that says that they're ready.
Right. I agree. And Bills have Amari Cooper now.
Talking about Amari Cooper.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about the whole time, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I was talking about Amari Cooper because I've had Amari Cooper in a couple of my leagues, and I've always had him. He's
suddenly in a good situation.
This is the best quarterback he's had in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, since he left Dallas, actually. But so I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to stick to my 20-13 pick.
Okay. I think you should. I think listen, if you made me put money on it, I'd probably side more with your prediction.
Right. What's the line for
I'm looking
game?
At the externals. Atlanta's favored by 3. I'm looking at the externals of it, and I think that there's an opportunity here for the Seahawks to kind of make a defining statement. Hey, we're going to bounce back in these things. Yeah. It's got that feel to it. I could be wrong. Whatever.
I don't know if I could avoid picking this game, I would avoid picking this game.
I wouldn't bet. Well, speaking of that, let's talk about our best bets of the weekend.
Let's do it.
Clearly, we're not talking about the Seahawks and Falcons. Seahawks getting 3.
I am avoiding this game.
I'm going to let you. I'm going to start because I feel good about this game. The Chargers and Cardinals were favored by 1. Now they're a 3-point dog. I'm going to say I like them getting 3. I like what that team has to offer. And, I just think there's a lot of stuff to offer in that regard with that team.
Right. So
Cardinals plus 3.
Chargers?
No, I'm picking the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We just saw the Jets. I just talked about the Jets on Monday Night Football. On KOMO, and Aaron Rodgers, he looked 40, and he is 40.
Don't knock 40, man.
Don't knock 40. I know
40 in a few months.
You can't knock 40, but he is 40, and he looked every bit of it. That being said, his boy is back.
He's got Devontae.
His boy is back. Look, let me tell you. If you think that football players, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback, can't pull strings in the front offense, come on.
Right. Look how much of the chemistry with Allen Lazard, another one of his Green Bay receivers.
And that's where he goes.
And that's where he goes. And now you got 2 of them.
And that's his boy. And he was on the Pat McAfee show just today, and he was talking, and then just all of a sudden you see his boy from Devontae Adams right behind him. This has been brewing for years. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure.
They are -1 against the Steelers. Take the Jets.
You like that?
And also there is word that Russell Wilson may be starting his first game for those Pittsburgh Steelers.
Did you see that meme, by the way?
No,
it's
wait.
like Steelers 4-2 on the season with Justin Fields, Mike Tomlin thinking about starting Russell Wilson, and it's the picture of Russ in the old commercial for Subway. He's like, "You ever done anything dangerous?"
You ever done anything? It's dangerous. I wouldn't, but
it is dangerous.
I don't think, and I think a lot of people in Seattle are gonna hate watching that game. Because if he does start, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter who's starting for Pittsburgh because I don't even think Pittsburgh can keep up with the Jets with Devontae Adams on a Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're playing so many primetime games. Of course, it's 40 years old. He needs to get some sleep.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, that's the game I like.
Do you have a fantasy pick this weekend?
Yeah. By that same token, we're talking about Amari Cooper. There's only one receiver left in Cleveland now, and that's Jerry Jeudy. So he may be available in a couple leagues. He's currently in our gigantic sleeper league at KOMO that we talked about. We have 17 players on
which is insane
at all. We're 14 teams.
Commissioner Landers needs to fix that next year.
14 teams, 3 flex positions plus a tight end.
I think it's 4 flex.
4 flex positions
which is
plus
nuts.
a tight end. I don't understand it, but he has been in and out of my lineup. He may be available. If he's available, pick him up because I don't know who else the Cleveland's going to throw to except for him.
I actually think I'm glad you mentioned. I think I'm going to go pick him up in a couple. I don't think he's available in that league.
And he's caught a couple big plays.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to pick him up.
Yeah, no, go ahead and pick up Jerry Jeudy. Do you have any thoughts on who you would suggest?
This is a little bit more of a stretch. I mean, so Sean Tucker, running back on the Buccaneers, had a huge week.
Mm-hmm.
Caught a big touchdown pass.
You're big on the Buccaneers running backs.
Yeah, and I got Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: Rachaad White, who was injured, which opened the door for Tucker to have a big week. He's been lackluster for most of the season, maybe a couple flashes here and there. Bucky Irving's been the more productive back.
Right.
And Bucky was outproduced in this game by Sean Tucker. It's one game. However, if you're looking for a Slim Pickens kind of waiver wire thing,
like we are.
I mean, if Rachaad White's, listen, I assume he comes back and it's back to him and Bucky. But if I'm the Buccaneers head coach, I look at we just dropped 51 without this guy in there. So why am I not rolling with Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker moving forward? So pick him up. If nothing else, if you're in a league that credits for return yards, he is their kick returner. I don't know how many leagues do that, but that can be something to note as well.
That.
Yeah,
I wish I would do that. We put a word in from Matt Landers with the goatee now.
Commissioner Landers has a goatee. If the Seahawks win, Matt Landers, who you guys can't see right now, but I'll add his photo next week with the goatee progress. Yeah. We'll show him clean shaven. We'll show him with the goatee now, and then we'll show him next week. And if the Seahawks keep winning, he can't shave it.
He can't shave it. No. He doesn't know about any of this until he watches this.
He doesn't know until this gets published. Najee, that was fun.
That was fun. I appreciate it.
I have high hopes for the Seahawks in the big picture, but man, oh man, they got to get this one.
This is one that they need.
This is why we love doing this show because, we're there. We're at the VMAC. We're talking with the players, and so you can notice those sorts of trends and how upset they were after the Niners.
We're also screaming at the TV.
Oh yeah. I actually, when the Seahawks were coming back on the Niners, I was like leaving the press box. I thought I was bad luck, so I was like watching part of that in the cafeteria, eating like Swedish fish, and then eventually I went back to my seat after it was clear I couldn't win. So we're also very superstitious, but hey, go Hawks!
Go Hawks!
Go Niko and Najee's picks, so we can help you out. We love bringing to the show the best and kind of inside access from the TV perspective and being able to be behind the scenes with your Seahawks. So it was a lot of fun. We'll be back next week. Hopefully talking about a win, hopefully breaking down a huge, huge opponent in the Buffalo Bills coming to Lumen Field on the 27th. But for Najee Moye, I'm Niko Tamurian. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.